Tune it
How's
up.
it going? This is Jason Allen, Harbor Libertarian candidate for CD6.
All right, hold on a second. We're about to go live on air again. You got the mics
Okay.
out on this one? Let's go live.
Yeah, there.
All right, back again, Commission Radio Show. Again, up close and personal. The CD 6-way, Congressional District 6 in Texas, down in Texas. We're not in Connecticut today, but we're down in Texas. So I'd like to say hello to all those people who are listening in and all of our friends in Connecticut as well. We did tell you that we were the show, the social justice show, the internet social justice show, the internet radio social justice show, and TV and radio. You know how to get us. Obviously, we've had some people to call in, and during the break time, we have a caller that called in, Mr. Jason Allen Harbor, who is running for, well, believe it or not, Congressional District 6, the Libertarian candidate. You know, on our ballot, we have Republicans and Democrats, but we also have Libertarians. So we're going to go ahead and give Mr. Harbor an opportunity to speak out on the Commission Radio Show. Jason, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I sure appreciate it. Also, I understand my friend Jana Sanchez is also on the air with us.
Hi,
and
Jason.
That's kind of part of the reason I reached out to her earlier, and I wanted to extend a hand. And me and her have known each other for a few years now. And with all the mudslinging that goes on between the political parties, I wanted to take an opportunity to say, hey, you know what? This is one thing that we're not engaged in. And I wanted to send that message to those out there that were engaging in that kind of behavior. She's been kind of attacked lately locally, and I decided that maybe something needs to be said and done. And so that's kind of why I reached out.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So you're an active candidate, District 6?
Well, I haven't ran a real active campaign, and there's many reasons why. I knew that my resources and things are going to be best used towards the end of the election. I didn't raise any campaign funding whatsoever, and that was mainly also to send a little bit of a message to the people that had the bigger pocketbooks that was attacking some folks out there. And I knew that the message would be received, but I was just doing the best I can. We're a very limited party as to what we can do, especially financially. And I didn't want to make it about that personally, and so it's kind of a personal choice just to give people an extra, an option, an extra voice. Those people that feel like they're caught in the crossfire of two big parties that are out there, I felt like that somebody needed to step up and kind of put it out there. And so that's kind of why I've done the things that I've done, which a lot of folks don't fully understand, but it'll kind of make sense at some point.
Well, it looks like you a big fan of Miss Sanchez. You calling in on her interview and everything, and you running for the same thing.
That's kind of that was my whole point. I thought about it, and I've been thinking about this for a while, and I've been meaning to reach out to her and say, hey, you know what? I've been watching the stuff that's going on with the mailers, and I just felt like it was really, really wrong. And I wanted to be that one candidate that said, hey, you know what? We've known each other. There's
play
no
music
she's
together
running for the same thing. And we may not necessarily agree politically on everything, but we're still friends.
Well,
and why can't we have more of that in government and in politics? So, I wanted to take that opportunity to say something completely different than what the other fellow that's out there running against her is doing right now. I just felt really, really bad about that.
Well, I'm glad that you called in. The other fellow, I'll mention his name because I know you candidates never mention the name of the other person. That's just like an unwritten rule. You say, I don't know his name. I love it when I hear that. So when you're running against, I just can't seem to think of his name right now. It begins with, but hey, thank you, Jason, for calling in. I would like for you to, since you said, why can't we be friends? That's one of the things that we say here at the Commission Radio Show, why can't we be friends as well? So we'd like for you to join us on our social media platform as well and come by and see us sometimes, okay?
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity. Jana, best of luck. Been praying for you. And
Thank you. I appreciate
hope
your
everything
prayers.
turns out great.
Thank you, Jason. I really appreciate your support. And I think most people recognize that these nasty attacks are a desperate plea by my opponent. I think he thought that he was just going to win without a challenge. And I've made that clear that it's not going to be that easy. So I've been really shocked at the nastiness of the mailers that have hit, but I appreciate your standing by me and being my friend, and hopefully we'll get to play music again together one day.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've been attacked myself, but they didn't do it through mailers. They did it directly, and so that's when I decided something needed to be done. It has something to do with why I've been rather quiet.
Thank you again for
So,
calling
Jana,
in.
best of luck to you.
Thank
And
you.
I
You can
wanna
still
go ahead
vote
and
for
let
me,
guys
you
get
know.
back to it, and I sure do appreciate the opportunity.
No, not a problem. Mr. Hall.
Bye.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye. You know, that's the beautiful thing about politics, when there's mutual respect for all of those that are concerned. When I first moved to Arlington, there were very few Democrats in Arlington at that time, and you could pretty well count the ones that were active. One of them was Elsie Odom, who ran for and eventually became the mayor of the city of Arlington. And before that, prior to that, he was on the city council. At that time as well, you beat her during the election time, during the primary. Ruby Woodruff, she was a pioneer in Arlington and running for politics. And during that time frame, yours truly actually ran for office in Arlington on the school board. During that time, I had the opportunity to work with a lot of people who were decent people, honorable people, people such as your opponent now, your present day opponent now, Ron Wright. Ron Wright was a local area activist, politician, if you will, in the Arlington area. But now you're running against him, and now the higher the weight division, so to speak, it is in boxing terms, the higher the weight division, well, it gets a little bit more nasty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't meet and see these people at the grocery store and have a conversation about what's going on aisle 7 in produce. So now, speaking of what's going on aisle 7 in produce, and which is right next to the pharmacy, here's a question from Zamil. Here's the question. You can read it right there, if you will, on the social media page. It says, we pay their salaries and pay their health care, but you have those who voted to take it away from us.
Absolutely.
How does that work? I pay for your health care, but you don't even want to help those to afford to pay for theirs.
Yes.
Again, explain why.
I think the main reason that America is the only industrialized nation in the world that does not have universal health care is because of politicians such as the one who's held this seat for 34 years and the one who on the Republican side who wants to seek to replace him, is because they're accepting too much money from pharmaceutical companies, from healthcare companies, and from special interest PACs who do not want people to have health care. It's that simple. We are the only industrialized nation in the world that does not negotiate the price of pharmaceuticals at the federal level. We are the only industrialized nation in the world that pays 17% of our GDP to not insure the entire population. In Europe, on average, it is 11% of GDP to cover every single person. The reason for that is because there are a number of systems, whether they involve private health care like we have here, which we could expand, a mixture of public and private, which is what most good, solid, wealthy countries in Europe are doing, is what my plan is. It is not a single payer plan. It is a plan to make sure that every single person has affordable health care. And the way that you would do that would be at least 3 items. One, you need to expand Medicaid so that the very poorest in our society have access to basic health care coverage. You need to keep the section of society now that is covered by their employers that have good health insurance if they're happy with it. You need to make sure that every person who's self-employed or underemployed or doesn't like the health care being offered by their employer could buy into Medicare. That would also shore up Medicare to make sure that it's financially viable, because the age range of the average patient being covered by Medicare would drop dramatically and would become a healthier pool. You also need to manage cost much, much better. Most countries in Europe who have a system like I'm talking about, such as the Netherlands, Switzerland, Germany, most of Scandinavia, France, etc., they negotiate the price of all services and treatments at the beginning of the year to keep those under control, in addition to the price of all pharmaceuticals being negotiated. All of those things keep the price low. Having everyone covered means that the cost per person goes down dramatically. It's absolutely ridiculous to exclude pre-existing conditions. Insurance companies have to take on that risk if they want the reward of the premium the person is paying. I can tell you, when I lived in the Netherlands, I paid 150 euros a month for my health care. That's, let's say, roughly $150, $200 a month for my health care. And every single thing that I needed, if I went through my GP, my general practitioner, was covered 100% by my insurance once I met my deductible, which was 250 euros per year. So I had to make a one-off contribution. An average doctor's appointment was about 20 or 40 euros, depending on what I needed to have done. And I had every healthcare need I had was covered. So I propose a system like that for us, which is basically expanding the ACA by expanding Medicaid coverage, opening Medicare up to anyone who wants to buy it, keeping the private health care option, which covers almost 50% of all Americans, and cutting cost, or keeping cost under control for services and pharmaceuticals.
So you're running against Mr. Ron Wright, who's the Republican standard bearer, and their focus for the last 6, 7, 8 years has been to repeal ACA, which is also known as the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah.
Which is also known as Obamacare.
Yeah. So
that don't sound right. If you're a Republican and you now they're saying that we are for pre-existing conditions now.
Well, it's not true, because look
It's
how
not.
many times they voted against pre-existing conditions. And the Attorney General of our state is in court right now trying to sue to make sure that insurance companies do not have to cover pre-existing conditions. It's actually a lie that Republicans want to protect pre-existing
So that's what
condition
they
coverage.
said?
Yes, it is actually a lie. I think that we all know that. And I think that I can tell you that I don't think many people are buying it. And I think most people understand fully who voted how many ever times, 9, 10, 20 times, to repeal the ACA and to end pre-existing condition coverage.
Now, this is what they're saying now, they're alleging now that they're for it, but if I'm not mistaken again, Obamacare, they got a little bit of the Obamacare, rather the Democrats adopted some forms of Mitt Romney's Massachusetts health care.
It was actually originally a Republican idea.
So Obamacare, hey folks, alert, Obamacare ain't really a Democratic idea. Okay?
No, but Democrats
But
support the
we
ACA
support
now.
it.
Yes.
We adopted it, and I'm saying we, because that's a hint how I voted in the primary and how I also voted in this upcoming election. That's a hint. Okay, spoiler alert. Okay, now, that being said, that Obamacare was drafted originally from a Republican idea, which countered a previous Democratic idea, which was known as Hillary Care. There will be a test on this later on. So we no longer have Hillary Care. We have Mitt Romney's plan. Then the Democrats come along, adopt some of the methods of it, and say, look, if you were behind that one, and you can certainly be behind this one, because we're all Americans and we all need to have good health.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to be really super geeky here, and my staff will be really annoyed when I use this term. But
I'm trying to get geeky with you.
Because you know what I'm
Trying
like.
to get geeky with you.
I'm a data geek.
Okay.
And what's really important to know about the ACA and all of the European healthcare systems, other than the single-payer system, is that they date back to Otto von Bismarck, who created these systems, among other things like pensions and all the other things that we take for granted now.
Wait a minute, hold on a second, hold on. Geek to geek.
Yes.
That's like socialization.
Well, it depends on, well, I wouldn't say so. I mean, Otto von Bismarck was a German leader who decided that people in society should have basic care because they've been working, and the idea was that they'd have a pension for their last few years,
Right.
and that they should have health care, and that all of society would contribute to it, and all of society would benefit from it. So I think, you can call it labels whatever you want, but we know it works. We know that people are healthier, we know that it costs way less money, and we know that most Americans, and certainly most voters in Texas 6, want health care. They want to be able to afford health care. Right now, they cannot afford health care. And the reason is because of corruption and politics and unwillingness for people to work across the aisle and come up with solutions.
That's in Texas alone, or just all across?
The entire country. Why are pharmaceutical companies and people making money off of the healthcare system allowed to make contributions to members of Congress? Why? They should not be allowed. That should not be. I mean, I know that we have freedom of speech, which has been under Citizens United said that companies are allowed to support politics. But the reality is, you need to know who is influencing the people who are making decisions on your behalf. And if the candidate is accepting corporate PAC money, you can better believe that he's not voting in your interest. He's voting in the interest of his donors.
All right, so this is what I want everyone to do that are listening now on the Commish Radio Show. Get this mic up. On the Commish Radio Show, go to opensecrets.org. Opensecrets.org. And that way you'll know how much money your candidate has, how much money that candidate has raised, how much money that other people have raised for that candidate, PACs and so forth, and where does this money come from? Does it come from individuals or corporations that basically, for lack of a better word, have their interests at heart and not yours at heart?
I'd just like to mention that we have raised more money than, like the last 30 Democratic candidates in this district combined. Actually not 30, but the last candidates for the last 30 years combined. And our average donation is around $45. So we have reached $45.
Tell me about that now. I don't know. Go ahead, keep talking.
So that's what happens. Obviously there are some people around the state mainly who have written large checks. There's within the campaign limit as determined by federal law. But the vast majority of our donations we get every single day. Hundreds of donations, some as small as $1, and some going up to a couple $100 would be our typical range, but the average is $45. We accept no money from corporate PACs. We do have a couple of PACs that have supported us. Those are PACs, for instance, for the Hispanic Congressional Caucus, members of Congress, Bull PAC. Has supported me. They've given me the maximum that a PAC can give, which is $5,000. My opponent has taken, I don't know the exact percentage, but you'll see it on opensecrets.org, a very large percentage from corporate PACs, and that money is from oil and gas, cement industry, pharmaceuticals, and other people who are other industries that he would be, if he were elected, making decisions about our lives.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Our time is about up. I'd like to go ahead and acknowledge some people. I'm trying to rush my way through because I want to sneak in another question.
Okay. I'm very chatty. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Hello to Gregory Kidd, who just purchased one of those Commish Radio Show hoodies. So I'd like to say hello to him as well, and you can purchase the Commish Radio Show hoodie along with the shirt and the grayisms. We have a page for that on weareuniforms.com, so take a look at that page. Becky Foss, hello, how are you? Met her?
Hi, Becky.
Met her at one of your events.
Yes.
Tell us about that event.
Oh, that event. Oh, yes. Congresswoman Jana Sanchez came out to support my campaign. Although we have the same name, we're not actually related. And she came out to support my campaign because she's a Latina, of course, and a Democrat, and felt that I wasn't getting enough attention from my campaign from the Democratic establishment, so she came out to help me. And we had a beautiful event in Dallas, which was so nice to have her support. And our future agriculture commissioner, Kim Olson, came and introduced me, and it was really one of the highlights of the campaign because I love Kim Olson so much, and I love Jana Sanchez, and the support I've had, especially from women candidates and women elected officials, has just been amazing in this year.
And Becky, I love her as well because
She's told the story several times.
Yeah, that's why you were looking at me like that. Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys know the story. So here it is, basically. I'm here at your event, and I'm walking around, doing my thing, and she's like looking at me, like noticing me, but she's like, I know you from somewhere. And I said who I was, and she said no. Then I said, I'm Ed Gray, and this is my voice, my opinion. And she, oh my goodness. And she was such thrilled about hearing me say this, she touched my beard. So, so that's all good, but that's what it's about.
Becky, we call Becky our campaign mom. She takes care of everybody on the campaign.
So we want to say hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Hello as well to Wendell Davidson and Terry Lynn Brooks of Grand Prairie. Just saw you guys at the opening of the Grand Prairie Epic. I hope to be doing another radio show there. Spoiler alert, forgot to tell you guys. We're on another place, Grand Prairie. We got to take it home. But speaking of taking it home, we're going to have Miss Jana Sanchez to take us home with the closing. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ed. It's such a pleasure to be here as usual. I love being on your show and talking to you about issues. You're obviously very well informed, which is nice. I'd just like to say that we've been out all day, and we have hundreds of people out all over the district this weekend, putting door hangers on the doors of Democrats, reminding them of where they need to go vote on Tuesday. So if you're the slightest bit unhappy with the direction the country is going, you don't like the division, you don't like the ugliness and the nastiness that you're seeing, the way that you can change things is by going out and voting on Tuesday, November 6th. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and the turnout is phenomenal. We've already passed 2014 turnout, even without Election Day. I think we're going to be approaching 2016 turnout, which is unheard of for a mid-year. This is very good news. The average voters are younger. They are more diverse ethnically. And it looks like way more women are voting than men. There are a lot of people who seem to be ready to make change. So I want to encourage you, if you're ready for change, please go out and vote on Tuesday, November 6th. If you have any questions and you want to make sure where you're voting, you can just call our office, 817-856-2887, and we'll help you. Thank you.
All right, this is the Commish Radio Show. We are about out of time, and as a matter of fact, we're going to play a couple of drops, and then we're going to escort our latest candidate in for our second hour interview. Roll.
Hi, this is Thurman Jones, publisher.